Welcome back to another Drag Race Quick Bite. I'm Jack, and today I want to talk about Rusicals. For the time being, I'm going to match the quick bites to the challenges of season 14 because they're topical, the videos seem to do well, and obviously it's like a free topic every week. So the new format of these quick bites for the time being is me editing the video right before the episode comes out on Friday, reacting to the episode in the video, and then posting the video on Saturday. I'm going to save my deep dives to more queen-centric videos as opposed to challenge-centric videos, but you know, you're still going to get both on this channel. The Raja video is coming out pretty soon. I've just been swamped with school and these quick bites are easier to do. Anyways, tangent out of the way, let's talk about the Rusicals. I'm going to come out and say that I am a theater nerd. I'm sorry, but also I'm not whatsoever. So I obviously really love the Rusicals and appreciate everything that goes into them. I think for the most part, the Rusicals are pretty good on the show, but it takes a lot to go above and beyond and be some of the best of the series. Only a few have really exceeded my expectations and made me want to go back and watch them, while the rest are either not that great or just like pretty forgettable. So I'm going to give you 3 examples of Rusicals that I'm not a huge fan of, and 3 that I am a huge fan of, and then 1 that I think is the absolute best. And along the way, I'm going to break down some traits that makes a Rusical great and makes a Rusical really bad or really rigged. The first one that I don't think is that great is Trump the Rusical, and I think a lot of people would agree with me. I keep up with politics a decent amount, and of course I keep up with social issues, and I still didn't really get a lot of it. The idea on paper was really good. Obviously SNL has been poking fun at Trump for years, but it just didn't read as well because you had to know so much about the people in his party. So while yes, people like Betsy DeVos, Kellyanne Conway, and Oprah read really well, other people just didn't as much. It might just be me and not knowing all the quirks of Trump's administration, but a lot of the girls felt really hindered by the roles that they got. And this is the first negative trait of what could really kill a Rusical. There is only one Rusical that I could really think of that is written equally. Every other Rusical is so unequal. There's always going to be a Black China, but then again, there's always going to be a group of 3 that fades into the background. If you end up in a group of 3 or a big group pairing that is not iconic right off the bat, oh my god, good luck, because your role is not written to win. And here with this Rusical, it felt like it was split up into 2 groups, with the liberal group, I guess I don't really know what to call them, they really got underwritten. People like Rosie O'Donnell or even Hillary Clinton can be written really funny, but they got nothing to do because they weren't really written to win. A character that was written to win was Oprah, and I'm happy that Silky got it because she immediately kind of just took control of it, but you know, other people just didn't have great roles. Like Ariel was playing Sandy, which leads me to my next point of this. I don't really get why they combined Grease and Trump together. I think it was ambitious, but it really didn't read that great. I did Grease in high school, so I really appreciate the fact that they were trying to parody the music, and I think they did a pretty good job at that. But they didn't go far enough with Grease, and I don't think they could go far enough, so they just kind of wrote themselves into a corner. All in all, I really didn't like this Rusical because the parts were written unevenly. It was already kind of banking on the fact that you knew all these people outside of the show, and it kind of dipped its toes into a Grease parody, but didn't really go all the way, and it just kind of left everything really confused. So let's move on to a really good one. Another classic, iconic one that everyone loves to certain degrees is The Herstory of the World. Looking back on it with some hindsight, is it still iconic? Yes, yeah, it is, but you know, I think now there are better Rusicals out there. Sometimes we have to take our rose-colored glasses off when it comes to AllStars 2. There are some great performances here, but you know, you have to think about the details with the whole Rusical. First, why is it iconic? Detox, Jeremy, Ginger, and of course Alyssa absolutely killed it. I can go back and watch all 4 of these performances to laugh, and I just think that they were all suited so well for these people. And that's where my criticism kind of comes in. Not so much for Jeremy and Ginger because I think they just killed their performances right off the bat, but for Detox and Alyssa, it was kind of interesting how their performances suited them just so perfectly. This is one of those Rusicals where the parts were pre-picked, and those always suss me out so much. It felt like the characters were written for each of these queens, because they were, but then it comes back to the fact that they were kind of written unequally, so something like Marie Antoinette doing the jaw thing that Detox always does, or Alyssa just kind of playing up that really campy kind of countryside to her, those are obviously going to be looked at as insanely great performances, but then you get people like Katya who were just given the short end of the stick. Katya didn't do bad, but she was given absolutely nothing with Princess Di. She just stood there, and I don't think that's her fault because there was a choreographer. They gave her nothing. So for AllStars 2 and 3 Rusicals, though they are iconic, it's kind of hard for me to completely appreciate them because the choreography and the judging was so off. The writing of the AllStars 2 Rusical though is top notch, especially with the really funny parts, but even someone like Princess Di got some funny lines in there. So though yes, it is iconic, it is lopsided, and we need to really acknowledge that. Let's move on to the next one that isn't that great. Season 13's social media, the unverified Rusical, is boomer humor, like down to a T. I know Candy's Alien Judy said that before, and I completely agree. I honestly think for the most part, the parts were all written pretty equally. Even like the duo that normally would fall into the background or have one of them fall into the background, they were apparently the standouts. They were pretty good. I don't know if they were top tier, but they wanted to give Denali that. I'm going on a tangent. Anyway, you know, even though they were all kind of written equally, that doesn't mean they weren't written to be absolute cringe. There's just like this wink wink nudge nudge that they think that we're all going to vibe with, but maybe it's my age or just kind of living on social media forever, but I didn't really find it that entertaining. Not to mention the fact that, again, they're doing this whole thing where it's kind of a musical parody, but now it's from multiple musicals, but it's only one song, but then some of the other songs are just like random other parodies or not even parodies at all. Like, it's so confused. I guess with each song parody, they were kind of trying to parody a different generation or a different vibe for each social media, but then why does Foxy get Don't Rain on My Parade? Like, is that really like the anthem for free thinkers? Why is Cell Block Tango there? It's confusing. It's disjointed, and it probably read for people who aren't that big on social media, but for someone who is literally a social media person, it just wasn't that great. And again, I guess I'm throwing more criticism into season 13 here. Tina being low for that performance was absolute BS. She should have been high next to Rose to push that storyline between them, but no, she was low because she didn't lip sync the last 3 seconds of the song. Like, she gave the second best performance of the night, except apparently the last 3 seconds. Like that, it's so annoying. Anyways, let's get back to a really good one, probably the one that started it all. Again, with season 6, we have rose-colored glasses, but we have to look at it through a critical lens now. Shade the Rusical, though, is still iconic in almost every way. The story of the episode was amazing, and then having the two singers come through and give amazing performances that could have warranted either of them a win was so fun to watch. It was an original story with original music that was just fun. It was so fun. It wasn't a parody of anything, so it didn't get lost in trying to be too many things. It was just doing its own thing, and that's what made it so great. But with it being its own thing, we kind of got uneven character writing, and you know, we had another trio, and the people in the trio fell into the background. Like, never do a trio in a Rusical. That always ends up terrible. I think it was Yuki who pointed out multiple times that having a big girl role with only one big girl on the show and kind of expecting her to play that is really poor decision making on the producer's part. So if Darian doesn't play the big girl role, that leaves it up to April, who is suddenly screwed over because she isn't a big girl. And like, how are you supposed to play up a big girl without it either being offensive or just not reading well? And the latter happened. Aside from the lopsided writing though, all of the standout performances were some of the best of the show. We got some of the best lines of any Rusical.
She's a man with one eye. Oh, I can't get it open.
Here.
Don't do it, don't.
I never thought that you would do this.
And for a first go around, I mean, there's a reason that we keep doing a Rusical every year now. It just sets such a good foundation for a concept like this, and I think that the fact that we had two singers on the show really helped us get Rusicals to where they are today. Moving on to the final bad Rusical, which I think is the pinnacle of what the fuck were they thinking Rusicals, is of course the Farmer Rusical from season 10. I didn't think I was going to bring up SNL multiple times in this video, but imagine an SNL sketch where every single sketch is just not funny. That's just how it was with this Rusical, being insanely confused, also parroting Grease again for some reason, and just it's the most lopsided that anything has ever been. The fact that they called this a Rusical at all is kind of odd because it's not like any other Rusical there is. The girls all had parts, but then they had other parts, and then sometimes they had a little line, but they weren't playing the character that their main part is. It was just all these like little sketches that were put together, and everyone was like, oh, okay, I'll be the cock fairy, and then, oh, I'll be the old granny, but then also I'm gonna be dancing in the background. Like, what? It blows my mind that they did this. Other Rusicals, you decide on a part that's your own, but these were in teams where everyone was kind of working together to be the winning team, and that's just not how a Rusical should work. Take the trio idea that I've brought up in this video and just make it into two teams, and that's what we got. Everyone faded into the background. I think the Vixen or just a team captain was the only justifiable winner. Everyone was just a little too interconnected because everyone kind of had to play the team, so the team captain was only the one that could be justified. Not to mention the most confusing fever dream part of the episode where Andy Cohen just came in and took up one of the numbers of the girls' group, kind of giving them both an advantage and a disadvantage because they aren't given the funny jokes, but they also can't mess up. Like, why did only one of them get Andy Cohen? And maybe it could have been saved if the skits were more iconic, but you know, sometimes I get Ken Flama in my head, and that's about it. I don't remember any of the other ones. Bottom line is, if they want to make sure their Rusicals aren't bad, avoid doing this again. Have individual roles that we all know from the start and make sure that they can stand out in these roles to make sure that multiple people can be justified for the win. And oh, also, yeah, make it funny too. So now for the last one that I think is really good, let's go to AllStars 6. The complete opposite of any teams or pairings is having your own musical artist that you are impersonating, and that's what AllStars 6 did. They were impersonating iconic halftime performances from the Super Bowl, and I think everyone knocked it out of the park. The bottom two still did really good. I think that Yara really served it in choreography, and Akira should not have been there, and her runway should have saved her. That placement still really makes me upset. They were all just such strong performances, and I still go back and watch it all the time. I still get Scarlet Sissy That Walk stuck in my head, and now I'm thinking about it now, and it's gonna get stuck in my head again. And then we have Jan and TKB giving two of the best impersonations I have ever seen. Back in season 6, we saw TKB saying that she wants to be a Beyonce impersonator on Las Vegas, but we never saw her performing as Beyonce. And then we did, and she 1000% deserves that show in Vegas. It was just a fun concept all around, and though some of the choreography wasn't as even as some of the others, it still was really great. But if I'm talking about the absolute best, there is no competition when it comes to Madonna the Rusical. I truly believe that any part could have won this challenge. All the parts felt so evenly written to the point where it came down to the performers themselves, and all of the performers killed it. The people who apparently didn't do great, Britta, Heidi, and Jackie, they still got laughs, they still really hit the choreography. Like, Britta messed up a little bit, but she still sold it. Like, they were all so good. The thing is, I went in not really knowing a ton about Madonna, I'm sorry, but I was still really entertained and got the references that they wanted me to get. The vibes of this episode were just so good because everyone was just cheering everyone else on, and it puts a smile on my face. It's just a testament to how strong the performances were, where someone who even messed up the choreography, they weren't edited bad. They were just like, oh, they messed up and they still went on and they still killed it and still got laughs. So catchy, so fun, so well written, and the choreography was great because Jamal Sins did it. So with all of that out of the way, I'm going to watch the next episode and tell you what I think of the Rusical. So I will see you in a sec. It was really good. Dare I even say it's in the top tier of Rusicals, but I don't think it's one of the absolute best. I like Moulin Rouge and I love Lady Marmalade, so having both of them referenced was really fun, and I think the fact that they were using mostly RuPaul lyrics helped them stay on track where other Rusicals may have gone off the path. The writing was okay because they did use RuPaul songs. There weren't a lot of funny jokes, but people like Willow had like funny moments because of the concept of it, so it definitely could have been worse. And for what they were given, they all completely turned it out. Again, we unfortunately had a group of 4 and they faded into the background because, like, obviously they're literally just charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent. There's not a lot of character to them. They had that complaint for Georges where they were like, I don't really know your character. And I'm like, I don't know their characters either, but it's because the writing wasn't that strong for them. The only one that I really got was Nerve, but I don't know how charisma and uniqueness read for Daya and Angeria, aside from them just performing well. Like, how did Georges read any worse than those two? They do have an excuse for grouping these 4 together because it is an homage to Lady Marmalade, but I think the grouping just kind of writes them into a corner and makes the parts uneven. Still though, everyone killed it and I'm so happy to see Camden with another win. Also, I don't know what it is about this camera work in the past 2 episodes, but it is on point. Give those people a raise. Overall, I thought the writing was pretty good, but the character writing could have improved a lot. Just having that group is always so annoying. But the saving grace is the amazing performances from everyone. I definitely agree with the bottom 2, and I can't wait to see all 7 of them next week because Bosco got the golden chocolate bar. I love Bosco and I'm happy that she gets a second chance, but it's just so soon after we've had so many non-elimination episodes, so I'm getting a little exhausted, but you know, seeing more Drag Race is never a bad thing. I also thought that for a moment that's been hyped up this whole season, it was played a little awkward. Like, they cheered and they were like, oh my god, yay, but like, I think everyone, including like Deja in the back especially, they're like exhausted of having all these non-eliminations and then having one so soon after we just got like 2 in a row, I think. It just kind of soured the moment before it could get started. I'm going to say this now, and I think that it's probably going to reign true up until the end. I don't think they know who they want in top 4, which is refreshing, but also leads to all these non-elimination episodes that kind of feel like filler, just to balance out wins to queens who they may want in the end, but they're not too sure about it yet. But with the bar being gone, that means that there's not going to be any other non-elimination episodes, so the stakes are finally high again, and I'm so excited for the roast next week. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you soon for that Raja deep dive. I really hope you check it out. I'm putting a lot of work into it, and it would mean a lot to me.